Hey guys, what's up? Oh, that's loud. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. Dang it, Jeanette. Okay, so welcome to Monday. We are reading from book 2 today. We're going to, and if you want to know what book 2 is, you can text me at 435-299-0447. That number again is area code 435-299-0447. And no, I don't live in Utah. I've never lived in Utah. I've only been in Utah once. But yes, I have a Utah number. Don't ask me why. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, y'all. Just came home from work. Desperate for a shower. Busted my face today. Right there? That was like a tile. Spat in my face. Tile 1 today, but not by the end of the day. So this is book 2. Settle down, Jeanette. This is book 2. We're going to have 2 more books that we're reading. 3 will be tonight. This is book 2, the prologue. And if you text me because you find this content of interest, I will send you the author and the book title. Thank you. There, I've settled. I'm almost here. Prologue. The scrolls of Adam and Eve are scrolls which convey a fuller exposition to the first chapter of the scroll of Genesis. They do not contradict the biblical scroll, but rather bring to light a more in-depth explanation of the origin of Adam and Eve and how the drama of the fall, quote-unquote, came about. They reveal the fallen mind energies of Sataniel, S-A-T-A-N-I-E-L, so Sataniel. Oh, he's a pretty girl. Lucifer, and the other Satans. Did you know there was more than one? We just learned that together. So I'm going to repeat that one. They reveal the fallen mind energies of Sataniel, Lucifer, and the other Satans. And in parentheses it says oppositionary forces. Oppositionary forces, alright. Who carry on dialogue with Adam and the pre-existing Adamic species prior to the creation of the present world as we know it. They disclose a pre-Adamic world where higher beings and Adam are able to dialogue and commingle. Commingle is God's creation. The higher worlds should not be seen with the same three-dimensional ideas that we experience in this physical reality. Instead, we come to realize that the higher dimensions are of consciousness forces. Instead, we come to realize that the higher dimensions are of consciousness forces and living energies with hierarchies of power occupying different cosmic strata. I don't know why, but that seems totally legit to me. That rings very much a truth. We are told that a great spiritual warfare is continually taking place for control of the various forms of intelligence that are occupying this earth dimension. Are we going to have a lot of interruptions today? I don't know. Maybe this will be the last one. Yes, Dexter. Come on, baby. Oh, this is good. Oh, this is good shit. I like this. Okay. The higher worlds should not be seen with the same three-dimensional ideas that we experience in this physical reality. Instead, we come to realize that the higher dimensions are of consciousness forces and living energies with hierarchies of power occupying different cosmic strata. We are told that a great spiritual warfare is continually taking place for control of the various forms of intelligence that are occupying this earth dimension. Yet, The terms are symbolic of forces of creation that are not limited to any three-dimensional form. The imagery is concerned with lords and universal powers trying to destroy one another and their respective creations. In experiencing this scroll, it is important to note that most of the commentary has come from the direct experience witnessed by the commentator of this book. A fuller explanation of this experience is written in the Book of Knowledge, quote, Keys of Enoch. See bibliography. Moreover, in bringing forth an exposition on this scroll, the commentator outlines 50 keys of Merkaba. 50 keys of Merkaba, which are basic teachings that can be used as a vehicle for the elevation of the soul. Introduction. The Scroll of Adam and Eve. The sacred scrolls used by the mystical brotherhoods. The sacred scrolls used by the mystical brotherhoods in Egypt and Israel explains in a transhistorical sense the creation of the Adamic race prior to and at the beginning of the creation upon the face of the earth. Adamic. I hope I'm saying that right, but ultimately it means the race that came from Adam. You know, us. It also explains the Luciferian rebellion in the heavens when Lucifer, and Lucifer is spelled L-U-C-I, like Lucy, and then fur, like F-U-R, Lucifer. And the other lords, in parentheses it says, Am-Aria, or A-M, whatever this is, A-R-I-A, and then Maldek, M-A-L-D-E-C, and then Miodrach, M-E-O-D-R-A-C-H, and then there's Hiliel, and L, we know what those means, H-I-L-L-E-L, Ben Shahar, and the fallen Benai Or, B''N''A' space capital O-R, and the fallen Benair Or, end of parentheses, departed from, or whatever that is, departed from the Father's presence in order to create, and so we're going to go back a little. It also explains the Luciferian rebellion in the heavens when Lucifer and the other lords, and then all those names I just mentioned, departed from the Father's presence in order to create a new universe that were a mixture of their own light with the greater light of the Father. Fascinating. 3 variant editions, also known as the Books of Adam and Eve, are correlated here with which detail the origin of humanity through the story of the archetype Adam. The first 2 variants used in the text are the Slavonic or Latin version called the Slavonic Vita Adea et Evaea, or in parentheses, Life of Adam and Eve, Old Slavonic, and the purely Latin version called the Vita Adea et Eva. Both of these versions show heavy dependence on earlier Latin and Greek sources. The third variant is entitled Apocalypsis Moses, taken from the late medieval manuscripts, but derived from the early Hebrew and Aramaic sources. These 3 books are based on the ancient version of the Adam books, believed to be from the 1st to 4th century after the death of the historic Jesus, or Yeshua. So 1st to 4th century after the death of the historic Yeshua, yet taken from the earlier Hebrew scrolls. Of course, there are certain reconstructions and arrangements of passages that took place as the texts were handled down through history. For this reason, all 3 books are used. Seems wise. This has ensured that the sections on angelology, oh, I like that, and eschatology appear consistent with the earlier Semitic UR texts or texts. Nevertheless, all three of these books are full of Hebraic, okay, Hebraic words. Nevertheless, all three of these books are full of Hebraic words and phrases showing a synthesis of the earlier Adam and Eve tradition. The main portion of the first two variants used has been dated to be probably from the 3rd or 4th century of the Christian era, but before later Armenian and Ethiopic versions. The Apocalypsis Moses, one of the three titles, is considered to be the earliest of the books and comes from the 1st century of the Christian era and may have influenced the writings of 2 Corinthians 11:14. 2 Corinthians 11:14. Un momento, por favor. Thank you for your patience. 2 Corinthians 11:14. That's real specific. I want to know why. 11:14. And this is the King James Version. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Same 11:14 in the Amplified Bible says, and it is no wonder, for Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. I'm going to go ahead in the Amplified Version and read a little further ahead. Hell, let's just read from 11 to that point. 11:1 to that point. In the Amplified Version, 2 Corinthians 11. I wish you would bear with me while I indulge in a little so-called foolishness. Do bear with me. For I am zealous for you with a godly, and this is lowercase g, godly eagerness and a divine jealousy, for I have betrothed you to one husband, to present you as a chaste virgin to Christ. God, I wish I remembered this part, because I don't. But now I am fearful, lest that even as the serpent beguiled Eve by his cunning, so your minds may be corrupted and seduced from wholeheartedness and sincere and pure devotion to Christ. Remember, Paul wrote this, just saying. For you seem readily to endure it. If a man comes and preaches another Jesus than the one who preached, for if you receive a different spirit from the spirit you once received, or a different gospel from the one you then received and welcomed, you tolerate all that well enough. Yet I consider myself as in no way inferior to these precious, extra, super false apostles. This is Paul being a dick. Sorry, you look at it, or you just look at it. Yet I consider myself as in no way inferior to this precious, extra, super false apostles. What a dick. But even if I am unskilled in speaking, this is when he's trying to justify his shit, because people were like, what the F? But even if I am unskilled in speaking, yet I am not unskilled in knowledge. I know what I am talking about. We have made this evident to you in all things. But did I perhaps make a mistake? And do you a wrong in debasing and cheapening myself, that you might be exalted and enriched in dignity and honor and happiness by preaching God's gospel without expense to you? He's such a dick. This is just narcissistic talk. Hi, Kina. You're so pretty. I moved this, but you could see her, but you've seen her enough times. Other churches I have robbed by accepting more than their share of support for my ministry from them in order to serve you. Double talk up the wang with this guy. And when I was with you and ran short financially, I did not burden any of you, for what I lacked was abundantly made up by the brethren who came from Macedonia. So I kept myself from being burdensome to you in any way, and will continue to keep myself from being so. Fucking Paul. As the truth of Christ is in me, this my boast of independence. Dude, if you're really sovereign, you take care of your own shit. Period. Yourself. Just saying. As the truth of Christ, I mean, look at the words he's using. There's nothing wrong with getting help, and if you're kicking ass and you're helping out, fuck yeah, do it up. But just the aura of what this is. But we're getting to 11, sorry. As the truth of Christ is in me, this my boast of independence shall not be debarred, silenced, or checked in the regions of Achaia, which is most of Greece. And why? Because I do not love you, do not have a preference for you, wish you well, and regard your welfare. Whoa, wait, hold up. And why? Question mark. Because I do not love you, do not have a preference for you, wish you well, and regard your welfare. God perceives and knows that I do. So he does love him. So I gotta say, it's because I don't love you? You think I don't love you? But I do. Okay, boo, whatever. But what can I do? Why is this like that? So, and why? Because I do love you. Do not have God perceives and knows that I do. But what I do, I will continue to do, for I am determined to maintain this independence in order to cut off the claim of those who would like to find an occasion and an incentive to claim that in their boasted missions they work on the same terms that we do. He's going to stay independent so that the we of whoever he does claim stay independent. Interesting. For such men are false apostles, spurious counterfeits, deceitful workmen, masquerading as apostles, special messengers of Christ the Messiah. And it is no wonder, for Satan himself masqueraded as an angel of light. So it is not surprising if his servants also masquerade as ministers of righteousness. Well, there's a bit of truth at the end of that, isn't it? Back to this. The scroll, regardless of linguistic source, all contains the teaching which closely corresponds to the notion of heavenly realms and our ultimate participation with same as entertained by both Judaic and Christian communities in the post-testamental periods. So this is after the first and second. Oh wait, no, testamental. Do they mean testaments? Or do they mean... No, testaments. Okay. So after the Judaic and Christian communities in the post-testamental periods. So this is now. The teaching of a resurrection and a judgment is clear and apathetic, as well as reference to the intermediate abode of departed souls in paradise. Yet, in the oldest of the Adam and Eve scriptures, the I said it earlier, Apocalypsis Moses, there is the absence of any quote-unquote Messiah, an absence thereof. That will come in the future. This suggests an Alexandrian-based textual source of authorship for the main portion of the teaching. Our principal focus in this study is drawn to the mystic traditions of the Adamic, Adam figure resembling that in Hebraic, which I believe means Hebrew literature. The scroll is directed less to the individual features of Judaic eschatology than to the traditions of the mystic metaphor, which emphasizes that Homo sapiens had a discrete origin, presumably as an isolated local population, crowned with extraordinary grace and promise in a universe of multiple experiments. Yeah, they said experiments. The scrolls, even in their composite formulation, focus upon a higher divine perspective which redirects the historical motif of the primal man, or Adam, away from evolution on this planet to the motif of a man as cosmic dweller, or more exactly, to a cosmogenic systematic formulation of a primal man derived from the emergent literatures of the Near East. Einstein once stated that, quote, "It is incomprehensible why nature should be comprehensible to the human mind," end quote. Yet, if we are to believe the scriptures that at the end of time, quote, "the true knowledge will become abundant," end quote, that's from Daniel 12:4, then this may be the time when a greater understanding of the origin and destiny of humanity will be made known. Oh, I like the feel of that. Note, the term man is used throughout this book with a capital M, which is a term that incorporates both male and female forms of specieshood. In this context, I wish to set this scroll within the Merkaba experience I had with one called Enoch. Oh, that's exciting. Let me try that again. In this context, I wish to set this scroll within the Merkaba experience I had with one called Enoch. He emphasized that children of light on this worldly life station are now being prepared to understand the teachings of the various brotherhoods, for we are to become the Adams and the Eves of the new world in other realms. So I guess we go from school to graduating to our own spot. What? I wish I could move this thing because this cat is just gorgeous and she's just staring at me. So that's awesome. Yet, as we approach the end of this age, the great teachings of the... Where were we? He emphasized that children of light on this worldly life station are now being prepared to understand the teachings of the various brotherhoods, but we are to become the Adams and the Eves of new worlds in other realms. Why have I heard that before? Wasn't the Mormons that... I don't know. This is why we study, so we can not say we don't know and actually know. Because I just love knowledge. Anyway, our knowledge for the most part has been earthbound. Yet, as we approach the end of this age, the great teachings of the ancient will be understood, which will explain how, in the beginning, humankind was in concert and communication with the higher powers of creation. Once we work through this limitation of consciousness, we can again become the Adamic or Christ race, the people of the Sobar. That I've never heard before. Or is that Zohar? Z-O-H-A-R. Zohar. Yeah, I've never heard that. Once we work through this limitation of consciousness, we can again become the Adamic or Christ race, the people of the Zohar, the people numbered among the higher star intelligences. We will understand that the seed of humanity was corrupted by the fallen angels, Sataniel, Urasar, Kogabiel, Tamiel, Semhase, Ramiel, and others. These were the leaders in the higher worlds who took 1/3 of the hosts of heaven of this local universe and began to create the other worlds of genetic plasma. Since their powers were those of the creator gods, lower G gods, they began to experiment on their own with different forms of life, resulting in grotesque creations that were unable to carry the light of the Father. The question is often asked, why was this allowed to take place within the divine omniscience? Question mark. In the higher experience of light, I was shown that the divine mind rejoiced in the power of continuous creation. He sought to give every thought form a unique personality and power, and to allow in the process of ongoing creation all possible levels of divine co-authorship. In this extended cosmogenesis and theogenesis, several of the divine entities that were created out of the emanations of the supernal mind chose out of their own free will not to go further with their power of serving continuous creation, and began to set up cosmological zones through which their powers could be exclusively concentrated. This resulted in relativistic patterns of divine light and limited light, and latter creating in the absence of the continual interplay with divine light. This resulted in a relativistic relativistic patterns of divine light and limited light, the latter creating in the absence of a continual interplay with divine light, regions of darkness in the mid-heavens. We're almost done, guys. The Father's love is so great, and even these lords of limited vision were allowed to continue in their mansion domains until the completion of the Adamic experience, when the Divine Son, the Adam Kadmon, K-A-D-M-O-N, Kadamon, Adam Kadmon, is reestablished. Let me read that again. The Father's love is so great that even these lords of limited vision were allowed to continue in their mansion domains until the completion of the Adamic experience, when the Divine Son, the Adam Kadmon, is reestablished. I really wish I knew what Kadmon means, like what the origin of that is. This is in conjunction with the arrival of the only begotten Son in his glory. Wow. Yeah, this is all new to me too. The divine love of the Father still continues, and although part of the divine nature of the Adam Kadmon, coded as the embodiment of Adam and Eve, was trapped by these fallen lords, the divine quote-unquote nature in man was not completely corrupted. The consciousness links of the human personality can still be reawakened by the indwelling Spirit of truth. It is in a very special way, each divine program, you sure? In a very special way, each divine program of the Father and his divine sons and Spirit of truth, remember he said divine sons means male and female. In this very special way, each divine program of the Father and his divine sons and Spirit of truth has a special Son who is begotten or dispatched to administrate all corrective measures which are necessary for the liberation of the creative program in the lower worlds. Are you seeing computer programs and viruses? Through the plan of redemption, initiated by the work of the office of the Christ, the Adam and Eve story is being allowed to undergo a quantum change into the body of the second Adam. 1 Corinthians 15:45-49. Second Adam you speak of. 1 Corinthians 15:45. States in the King James Version, and so it is written, the first man Adam was made a living soul, and the last Adam was made a quickening spirit. I don't ever remember reading that. Okay, so then we have it again in the Amplified Version. Thus it is written, the first man Adam became a living being, an individual personality. The last Adam, Christ, became a life-giving spirit, restoring the dead to life. I love it. We're almost done here, guys. Through the plan of redemption initiated by the work of the office of the Christ, the Adam and Eve story is being allowed to undergo a quantum change into the body of the second Adam. 1 Corinthians 15:45 through 49. You might want to read that because I only read the beginning. I didn't know it was through 49. With the help of the creative feminine indwelling spirit. Holy moly, we are reading that. Hold up. When I get excited like this. Okay, hold up. 1 Corinthians. Where'd you go, boo-boo? That's Colossians. I just had it, boo. I know, right? So it's 15. I'm getting excited about all this. Are you? Are you? You should be. At least I am. I don't know. 15:45 through 49. Thus it is written, the first Adam became a living being, an individual personality. The last Adam, Christ, became a life-giving spirit, restoring the dead to life. But it is not the spiritual life which came first, but the physical. First the physical, and then the spiritual. This rings very true to me. The first man was from out of earth, made of dust or earthly minded. Made of dust or earthly minded. The second man is the Lord from out of heaven. Continues with, now those who are made of the dust or earthly minded are like him who was first made of the dust, earthly minded, and as is the man from heaven. Remember, M-A-N includes both male and female. From heaven, so also are those who are of heaven, heavenly minded. And just as we have borne the image of the man of dust, so shall we, and so let us also bear the image of the men of heaven. And we will finish with this. We're at 32 minutes. Wow. Through the plan of redemption initiated by the work of the office of the Christ, the Adam and Eve story is being allowed to undergo a quantum change into the body of the second Adam. 1 Corinthians 15:45 through 49, which we just read, with the help of the creative feminine indwelling spirit, Sophia, I believe. The Holy Spirit. Christ consciousness? I'm not sure. Let's see. This will allow for the uprising of the human race beyond the powers of the experimental lords who have denied man his Adam Codmoon divinity. Wow. Through the plan, I'm rereading this, sorry guys. Through the plan of redemption initiated by the work of the office of the Christ, the Adam and Eve story is being allowed to undergo a quantum change into the body of the second Adam, 1 Corinthians 15:45 through 49, with the help of the creative feminine indwelling spirit. This will allow for the upraising of the human race beyond the powers of the experimental lords, lowercase l, who have denied man his Adam Kadmon, K-A-D-M-O-N, divinity. Even to this day, some of these fallen lords, lowercase l, are able to continuously disrupt the nature of humanity and other creations within their cosmological zone of creation. So they have their zone, their sectors. With this in mind, we now study the scrolls of Adam and Eve. Okay, so now you know the title. A reading is not a With this in mind, we study the scrolls of Adam and Eve, reading it not as a literary document, but as a living text, with its higher nuances and meanings. That's how I think of the Bible. as a living text with its higher nuances and meaning. It's a story that affects ongoing Adamic creation, or Adam creation, and the evolution of the Adamic sons and daughters who will ultimately be quickened to the rising nature of the second Adam, or heavenly minded, and the power of co-generation. What? Okay, y'all, that's the second book. We'll do the third one probably late tonight. And you see who I was staring at me the whole time I was reading. Alright, I love you guys. Let's see you later.